Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope everyone's having a wonderful start to their work week. We're ending up on week 2 of the NFL season. The Bears were on Sunday Night Football last night. Didn't look like they're quite ready for prime time just yet, but they didn't get blown out, which, I think is a testament to at least the defense. And hopefully the offense will come around. We do have a first-year quarterback out there, so I don't expect him to blow everybody away in the first few or 3 weeks, but we do need to get some touchdowns and points on the board, so we'll see how the Bears do. We got the baseball season wrapping up here locally. The Cubs are kind of hanging around as a possible playoff team, although remote at best. And the White Sox are trying to avoid setting an all-time record, and I'll talk more about that as the season concludes. I actually have tickets for their final home game, so I thought I might do a video that final week of the season, just kind of doing my last rant of the season and kind of recap of what has been just a god-awful season in baseball history and in White Sox history. But I have 3 things I wanted to share with you tonight. So I'm actually going to start with the cards for those of you who just want to kind of get to the cards and don't want to look at some of the other things or hear me talk. So I'll do that first. But then I wanted to share with you something that's actually been taking a lot of my time in the last few weeks. And it's probably been taking me away from creating content, so I please apologize for that, but I make no apologies for what I've been working on. So I'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of build up to that, and that'll be towards the end of the video. But let's do the cards first. And as you can see, behind here I have my Diamond Stars. I have 4 of the cards that I have so far in the collection. I have many different cards at this point, and I'm a little more than halfway done. I have a few more to show with you here. And, it's going to be a little sad when this project's done, even though I probably am still about another 2 years out of doing this project, just because of the prices of the Hall of Famers are going to cost me a little bit more money than some of these commons that I'm still picking up. But I'm still able to get some commons at some pretty affordable prices in graded condition. And we're talking more or less between like 2 to 5s, but sometimes I can score like a 5 or a 6 for a really good price for some of the cards that you're seeing behind you here. We're all gotten at a really good, affordable price, what I thought was kind of a steal at the time I was able to acquire them. Rick Farrell being the one exception that's a Hall of Famer, but, I got a 6 for less than $100, whereas all the other ones were probably about less than $60 in these conditions. And I just bring that up because, you can collect vintage sets of this era and not break the bank unless you're trying to get, obviously, the big stars. And, that for you just have to answer it for yourself is like, what condition do I really want? How complete is a set is always an important question. Do you just want to get as many as you can and can afford from that set? And maybe you just want to get the cards you can in the very best condition. So you might pass on some of the bigger ones that are going to be thousands of dollars to be able to purchase in the condition you want. But maybe you have like a good third of the set in really good condition, and that's okay with you. Like, everybody collects these sets differently. I'm more of a completist, so I want to be able to finish the set, so I will have cards that are lower conditioned as Hall of Famers or ones that are really hard to find to be able to finish out the sets, but not everybody is like that. So over the weekend, I was able to pick up 4 more, 3 of which came in today in the mail, so I'll have 1 more to show at some point later in the week, but I thought I'd show those with you. And I'll replace them with the cards in the background. I'll put these up instead. So in chronological order, I got Red Lucas. Spent a lot of time with the Cincinnati Reds. I think they mentioned about his time in Cincinnati here. I can't remember what team he may have been on at this point. I don't believe he was no longer with Cincinnati. But here's Red Lucas. Here's a card I've kind of passed on a few times that I've seen in decent condition. This is a VG3. It's in an older PSA holder, but it's really a solid 3. Sometimes these older 3s I see are maybe not as graded as stringently as ones you may see currently. So this one's actually kind of more aligned with the grading that I would kind of expect for this era. So we're going to take down Billy Urbanski over here. This next one is actually someone who's from Illinois. Oscar Milio, who's actually pictured with the St. Louis Browns here in this picture. I think it was a negative career war player, if I'm not mistaken, but he played a long time. Born in Chicago, died in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. We'll talk more about him when I do a player profile. But what I thought was interesting about this slab is that at actually it was the Red Lucas over here. I'll pull that one back here in a minute. It said a 1934 Diamond Stars. Well, the 1934 Diamond Stars series ended, I think, at like card number 22 or something like that. So the year is wrong on the flip itself. It's actually a 35. And you can see that on the back of the card, it talks about his 1934 season. So obviously, if they were talking about his 1933 season, it might be 1934, but it's not, which I thought was kind of interesting. This flip they actually got right to 1935, so it was like the second year that they released these cards, so the second series, if you will. Got a nice little color on here. This is kind of an interesting card too, because the color actually bled into the back a little bit. So I'm not sure like how that happened in the print process, but it actually kind of bled through a little bit of the card stock itself. Maybe a little bit of staining, possibly two. Not sure, it's one or the other, but the front of the card is unaltered, so it looks really good to me. I thought it was a really solid 2.5 to add in the collection there. So we got Oscar. And the last one that came in today was from the Washington Senators, a 1936 release, was the Joe Cool in a 2, which again, a very solid looking 2. One thing about PSA is sometimes the flips themselves, or the holders, I should say, they run out of one size. So this one actually probably needed to be a little bit of a bigger card. So it is kind of loose in there a little bit, even though they put like in a plastic sleeve. So that's one kind of thing where it's kind of hard to get consistency across maybe all the eras of them. But then it was actually printed in a blue back. There's actually a crease across the back here. You can kind of see it. But you can't see it on the front of the card, which is perfectly fine by me, because when these eventually get displayed, I'm not going to show the backs of the cards. They're going to be the fronts of the cards. So there you go. Those are the 3 that came in so far. Like I said, I have one more that'll be coming in. Don't know if I'll do a video on that or just a short to kind of share that one as it comes in. So we'll do that. The next one I picked up was actually from the Baseball Card Exchange. I have a couple different save searches in there of projects that I'm working on. One of which I've shared previously, just recently, talking about trying to get the Topps Heritage Chrome refractors for Pujols and Jeter. Well, one popped up the other day that was all of like 20 bucks. Already graded in a PSA holder. It's an older PSA holder, and it was a near mint 8. Listen, a near mint 8, 20 bucks on a refractor from this era, which would be 2011, is pretty good for one of those 2 players. And I couldn't pass on it. And I moved on it pretty quickly. And that is the 2011 Chrome refractor of Albert Pujols. This one's numbered out of 562. What I thought was kind of interesting about this card is I already had the Chrome. And so I was like, well, what's the big difference? Unlike the other cards, you can really see the refractor shine in the other series with like the white borders, the silver borders, depending how they design the cards. This one, they kind of tried to stay true at the same card stock. So you have to almost look at these side by side to see the differences. And you can see sort of the rainbow refractor in the background on one. That would be the one I'm holding in my left hand. And it's absent on the other. And obviously the numbering is different on the back. This one's numbered out of 1962. This is numbered out of 562. But pretty cool to have both of them in my collection at this point. So this is my first St. Louis Cardinal refractor for Albert Pujols. So start of many, hopefully, coming in the near future. So those were my pickups. Let me just put this over here. Move Sam Leslie out of the way. I'll put Albert Pujols, the Chrome. Oh, there's the Chrome right now. So I'll put the refractor up. I got it on there. Seems to be a little bit of that rainbow shine there in the corner if you were to look at it. All right, so those are the new purchases that came in. One other thing that's been keeping me busy is SGC threw me for a loop. When I was going to be doing a submission in the near future, I was looking at maybe doing a vintage submission and kind of working through a lot of my cards from the late 50s and 60s I haven't submitted yet. But then they had that Chrome special, and I'm like, well, I got a lot of Chrome cards that I'd like to be able to kind of consider submitting. I got to narrow this down a bit, but I wanted to kind of show you the ones I pulled, and I'll just have to make a decision at one point when I'm actually going to submit them. But I thought I might share them real quick. So we got the Frank Thomas Heritage Chrome, not a refractor. This one's really cool. This is the 2004 Topps Chrome Prism refractor of Ozzie Guillen. It's actually numbered out of 20, and this card's number 13 out of 20, which was his jersey number. What's kind of cool about this one is it's his rookie as a manager. And to date, you know, we've only had 3 managers that won the World Series, and he's the only one that's alive. So that's pretty cool, having that one in my collection there. Probably will submit that one. Here's another Albert Pujols. This is a chrome, not a refractor. This is from 2008. Derek Jeter, another Heritage Chrome, not the refractor, but considering about putting that one in. This year is the 2013 Heritage release. This was the first year they did the purple refractors. And I thought they just nailed them with the purple releases. I'm not sure how many purples I'll submit just because there's so many of them, but for Albert Pujols, I do have a couple of his in here. The first refractor, Heritage refractor card of Jose Abreu with the gold cup there is one I'm considering submitting. Clear's pretty bad right there, so I apologize. Glare life, if you will. Got the 67. This is the another Topps Heritage card of Albert Pujols. Actually lost out recently on bidding for a graded copy of PSA 10 of the refractor. That one's numbered out of 999. Here's one you've seen recently. This is the Sapphire from 2016. (2017), just over these last weekend. 2018, I don't have to go to great depth. Here's one I might put in, Jose Abreu. This is actually a refractor. Numbered out of 569. Ichiro, the regular chrome. A couple soccer cards here. We have from UEFA Chrome, Jorginho, numbered out of 250, purple refractor. And a favorite soccer card in my collection at this point, the Eden Hazard. See my reflection there, sorry about that. Probably don't need to see my mug or my fan that's showing right now in the background. Here are the purple refractor of Albert Pujols. These are from 2019's Heritage Chrome. Here are the black refractor for Jose Abreu. These are just really well designed. Here's the chrome refractor, Jose Abreu. Ichiro Chrome. This is his final chrome slash Topps release as a regular player. Was in the Heritage set. Here we have another Sapphire. This is 17. We have a negative refractor. Same year. 2020. We have the Sapphire. 2021, we have the chrome. 2022, chrome refractor. We also have a purple. This is from the Series 2. A couple other here from 2021, a negative refractor of Pete Alonso that we pulled recently. Oops, as you've seen before, Albert Pujols from Sapphire, the same year, 2021. I have to look up the name of this actual refractor. Here's one numbered out of 350. It's a pretty cool looking card from Chrome. Here we got Update with the Dodgers. 2022, Ohtani negative refractor, one that I pulled. In the only box that I opened, it had 2 negative refractors in the box. I pulled Ohtani, and then I pulled Soto. So I might put those, or sepia refractors, I might go ahead and get those graded. We'll see. And we have 2022 Albert Pujols Series 1. We have the Update Series, the green. Numbered out of 75. Here's a blue version of the same card. The all-time hit leader. 9th all-time. Blue. One more soccer card. We have a Stadium Club Chrome Prism of Frank Lampard. One of my favorite all-time Chelsea players. It's kind of hard to really see it. There you go. You're seeing my reflection. I don't need to see my mug. We got a purple. Albert Pujols from 2022. We have the regular chrome, also from 2022. Already have the refractor. And then the final one, the gold refractor from Sapphire from 2023. So it's probably too many, so I need to narrow it down a little bit. No really big value cards in there, which is fine. I don't have a lot of chrome cards, period. But I obviously have Pujols. All right, so the final thing that's been kind of taking my time, and I'll probably take down the cards here in a minute because I need a little bit more space, but so as I've mentioned before on the channel, I've been training for the Chicago Marathon. So that's now just 4 weeks away. So if I talk to you again in 4 weeks from today, the race will have been concluded for a day. Hoping to put together maybe a little video of my experience doing it so I can share it here on the channel. I talked about it a couple years ago when I did it when I first had the channel, but I didn't have many pictures to share at that time. So I'm going to try and put something together so you guys can kind of just see what the expo is like. I probably won't have my camera on or my phone on the race day itself. I don't typically run with my phone, but maybe I can get some pictures from other people that are attending of the event too, so I can kind of put it into something more visually stunning so we can do a little video and do a recap. But you know, I've shown this before. This is a race medal I picked up at the last one I completed 2 years ago. I've done 6 Chicago marathons overall, so this will be my 7th one. My very first one was in 2014, and this is kind of like what I wanted to share. So let me move Albert Pujols and the gang away here a minute, just because I want to knock them off their holders and damage them. But so they used to give you a program when you first get in there, and then months later you would get the results. So you get like a whole magazine. It would give you a little recap of the race itself, and it would also have the results included, and there'd be a lot of pictures in here as well. So I thought it might be kind of interesting to just kind of share those with you. They don't do those anymore. Like I don't have one for 2021 or 2022. I think you can download them still if you participated, or I think you can purchase them. You can order them if you want. But these used to be something they would mail to all participants, and you would get them probably in like December or something like that after the results were official, after they obviously did all the making sure everything was correct with everybody that finished across the finish line. But here you can look up and see everybody's results, and you can search by your time to kind of see where you finished. So this is my very first year doing one. And you can see like there's tons of participants on here. This race has about 40 to 50,000 people that do it. So I'm just going to kind of go to where my time technically kind of was. I don't really remember exactly what the time was, but it was like somewhere here in this general vicinity. It was right around like 3:47-ish, I think is when I like crossed the finish line for my very first one, which at that time was like maybe a 14-minute PR because I had just run a race that spring, which was my very first one in a local marathon to where I live. So this was my first big one that I did. Actually, I'm here on page right here. You can't really see it so easily, but here we have 37-year-old at that time. I had my full name on there. I was place number 6,531. My overall place in the race, I was male place actually, my overall place, so we include all genders that were represented at the race. I was 8,654, and I placed in my age division 1,169. It just kind of gives you the sort of the impression of like how many people are in this race. And I'm still like kind of towards I'm still not even at the middle of the program. So you can keep going further and further back and see like the last couple people that crossed the finish line, their place was like 40,599. And I don't do that to kind of like throw them any shade, but just kind of puts in perspective how many people were there. My fastest one I ran was actually in this year was 2016. I'm hoping to be able to kind of, weather permitting, and hopefully the next 4 weeks, if I don't have any injuries or anything that would keep me back, that I can kind of challenge this time. And it's 2 days, been my fastest marathon time. So this one, I remember my marathon time to an exact second, just because I haven't topped it ever since. So just kind of show you the kind of the difference from 1 year to the next. And this was 2 years later in 2016. The first one was in 2014. I didn't get in 2015, or I was actually going to be out of town in 2015, so I never registered for it. I had a wedding to go to. All right, so I was like 3 hours, 18 minutes, and 50 seconds. So we can kind of look up my time right here. Right here in the corner, here I am again, as a 39-year-old male at that point. In overall male place, I was 2,449. Overall, it was 2,824. You can see there was a big change. And in my age division, I was, even with that time, I was 524, which is half the amount I was at the previous one when I showed that. But just kind of shows like how many people run this race. It's ridiculous. This was a really good time for me. It was a few minutes off from actually making the Boston cutoff for that particular year. But still really good time. I haven't been able to go under 320 since, but I'm crossing fingers. Well, hope to be able to report back to you guys in time exactly where I did it. So in this particular year, they start growing the number of participants every year because they have a lot of charity runners that raise a lot of money locally for a lot of Chicago charities. So they just keep adding some spots. And this one actually was a slightly smaller race. It was 39,226 was the last person in the race. And by the time I ran it, I think 2 years ago, I think we were somewhere up close to 45,000 in the race. So that's what I wanted to kind of share. That's what's been taking my time on the weekends, because it takes several hours to kind of complete some of the runs. Like this past weekend, I had run like an 18-mile run, and it took a little under 3 hours because I wasn't going particularly fast by design, but still it's like 3 hours where I have to get prepared to go running, get to where I was going to go running, which took me about, that process in all was a little over an hour and a half. It takes me about an hour to get up and eat and get all my stuff ready, and then it takes me about 25 minutes to get to where I actually like to run on the weekends. Do the run, and then I have to drive home, so it's pretty much the whole morning. Fortunately, you only have a few weeks that are like this, where you're spending that much time. They're all towards the end of your training. So like this coming up this weekend, it would be another 3+ hour run, but I'm actually doing a race. So I'm doing a 20-mile race. So I hope to do it a little bit faster, but like that's also going to take up my whole morning on Sunday. So with that said, I like to do some research on some of the videos, like when I do a player profile on like Joe or something like that, Joe Cool here. It takes me a little time to learn about the player, look up about the player, talk a little bit about sometimes the card design or the set itself. Fortunately, this is a set that I know really well at this point, so it doesn't take me a lot to research the set themselves, but I still have to research the players. A lot of these guys I don't know, they're not household names either. That's part of the reason I like doing this series, is try to bring their names kind of back from the dead, literally, because all these guys have passed on. But I'll be done with the race soon. October's a busy month just because I'm also have a few other things coming up. But by November, I'll be back to kind of putting out a lot of content. So that is what I wanted to share with you guys for tonight. A little bit of a longer video. It's kind of a Dylan Double D Vintage-esque kind of video. A little shout out to him. But hope you guys kind of enjoyed it. Hope you stuck around to kind of listen to the last part of it, which is something important to me, but I know it's not hobby related. But hopefully you enjoyed all the cards that I had a chance to show tonight. And, maybe if you have some suggestions of which ones I should and shouldn't grade, feel free to add those in the comments. But otherwise, I'll be back soon.